Yashodanandana Prajajanandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Raja Jananandana Yashodanandana Raja Jananandana Yashodanandana Bhaja Janalandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Prabhupada Stotra Sutta Shri Srimad Divine Grace HG Bhakta Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Goti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Gopanana Ki Shri Vrindavan Dhamma Ki Mayapur Navadip Dhamma Ki Jagannath Puri Dhamma Ki Shri Yantra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Vitago Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, chapter 11, text 11, Mani?
It starts from the table, but I'll quickly be let up.
That's okay, no problem. Tayu samuchato masai pitrinam tadahar nisam Ravotva ritu sad ayan Dakshinam kotaram divi Tayo samuchato masai Pitrinam tadaharnisam dvatvarvitu sadayanam dakshinam kotaram divi tayo of them samuchaya aggregate masa month Pritnam of the Pitta planets Tat that month Aham Nisam day and night Dvo two To months Ritu season Sat six Ayanam the movement of the sun in the 6 months Dakshinam southern Cha also Uttaram northern Divi in the heavens. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The aggregate of 2 fortnights in 1 month, and that period is 1 complete day and night for the Pitta planets. 2 of such months comprise 1 season, and 6 months comprise 1 complete movement of the sun from the south to the north. Now, there's no purport for a few of these shlokas, so I'm just going to read a couple of verses ahead. The next one is translation. The 2 solar movements make 1 day and night of the demigods, and the combination of day and night is 1 complete calendar year for human beings. The human being has duration of life of 100 years. Next verse. Influential stars, planets, and luminaries and atoms all over the universe are rotating in their respective orbits under the direction of the Supreme, represented by eternal Kala. Purport by Prabhupada. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the sun is the eye of the Supreme and it rotates in this particular orbit of time. Similarly, beginning from the sun down to the atoms, all bodies are under the influence of Kala Chakra, or the orbit of eternal time. And each of them has a scheduled orbital time of 1 samvatsara. Just doing the next one as well, and that translation is, there are 5 different names for the orbits of the sun, moon, and stars, and the luminaries in the firmament, and they each have their own samavatsara. Purport by Prabhupada. The subject matter of physics, chemistry, mathematics, and astronomy, time, space, dealt with within the above verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam are certainly very interesting to students of a particular subject, but as far as we are concerned, we cannot explain them very thoroughly in terms of technical knowledge. The subject is summarized by the statement that above all different branches of knowledge is the supreme control of Kala, the planetary representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nothing exists without him, and therefore everything, however wonderful it may appear to our meager knowledge, is but the work of a magical wand of the Supreme Lord. As far as time is concerned, we beg to sojourn between a table of timing in terms of a modern clock. So 1 Triti is 8 part of 3,500 seconds. A Vedha is 8 the part of 135 seconds. A Lava is 8 to the times of 45 seconds. A Nimesha is 8 to the power of 15 seconds. A Kshana is 8 to the power of 5 seconds. 1 Kashtiha is 8 seconds. 1 Laghu is 2 minutes. 1 Danda is 30 minutes. 1 Prakara is 3 hours. 1 day is 12 hours. 1 night is 12 hours. 1 Paksha is 15 days. 2 Pakshas comprise 1 month, and 12 months comprise 1 calendar year, or 1 full orbit of the sun. A human being is expected to live up to 100 years. That is the way of controlling the measure of eternal time. In the Brahma Samhita 5:52, it affirms this control in this way. Yachakshuresha savita sakala grahanam rajas samarsta suramurti masesha teja yashai jana brahma sambritakala chakro govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose control even the sun, which is considered to be the eye of the Lord, rotates within the fixed orbit of eternal time. The sun is the king of all planetary systems and has unlimited potency in heat and light. Om Gana Timilanda Syagananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhavayeva Patitanam Pavanebhya Vaishnaveva Namo Namaha. Jai Prabhu. So it is absolutely wonderful to be here in New Govardhana again. It's been a very long time, 5 years to be exact, and time has ticked on in that time. Some people are a little bit older, some people are a little bit more cranky and grey hairs. Some little babies have grown up. When the last time we were here, a couple just got married, and some people have passed away. The last time we were here, our dear friend Venugopal passed away. So it's been a while, and it's really wonderful to be back in the association of the devotees here at New Govardhana. In the purport, Prabhupada made a very interesting point, that although this, over the last couple of days we've been reading about all the different aspects of time and everything, and it's all very interesting, and if you're a student studying that, it's really wonderful, but in actual fact, as far as we're concerned, with no technical knowledge, we just say, Jai, thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada, for telling us that, but it doesn't make much difference to our life. The conclusion is, and Prabhupada points out that conclusion, that actually without the Lord, without the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nothing exists. That's all we really have to know. Without God, nothing exists. So, and he also points out that actually this world is a very wonderful place. There's that song that Louis Armstrong sings, it's a wonderful world. And it is actually, but it's only a fraction of the wonder that's in the spiritual world. So with our meager knowledge, we actually appreciate the wonder. Krishna has his magic wand. It's pointed out, Prabhupada says, Krishna has a magic wand. And when you hear, actually, when we live in suburbia, where I come from, the western suburbs, which is just like a conglomerate of all suburbs just growing daily, by the time we get back to Melbourne, I guarantee you there'll be another 10 houses up over the last 2 weeks that we're away in the suburb that we live. So it's all concrete, it's a concrete jungle. But here, you come here at New Govardhana, and it's just so magical. Krishna's magic wand is everywhere. The birds singing in the mornings, the kookaburras, the trees, the beautiful purple flowers that you see when you drive into the place. It's like a darshan of purple flowers just everywhere. Krishna is just absolutely amazing. And so we see this and we wonder, how wonderful Krishna is. And then it's pointed out that in the Brahma Samhita, which we just read, how Krishna is the source of all this, and he is the source of all luminaries. He's the source of all luminaries, and he is behind the sun. So Krishna is behind the sun. So the sun is shining on us, not so much at the moment. We would have liked it. We were looking forward to it, actually. We had no winter clothes whatsoever. We thought, okay, we're getting out of cold old Melbourne and we're going to have a beautiful warm weather here. And there was this, as we were driving from Melbourne, there seemed to be this cloud hanging over the car. And everywhere we went, it just rained and rained and rained, to the extent that we were driving back from Cessnock and also from Port Macquarie. It was so bad that we couldn't see the cars in front of us, and all the cars on the road, just on the freeway, all pulled over to the side with hazard lights on. So we're thinking, where's the sun? So we're still singing that George Harrison song, Here Comes the Sun, hopefully it'll come. So we get a little bit of sunshine. Anyway, Krishna, we understand, is the source of sunshine, is behind the sun and witnesses all of our action. So the sun is very important. And as some of you may know, in my communication work, I deal with interfaith, different faith traditions. And there are many, many faiths that actually worship the sun as God. Can anybody name any faith that worships the sun as God? Egyptians, very good, yep. Yes?
Mayans.
The Mayans, yep. Who else in that sort of genre?
Aztecs,
Incas, Aztecs, yep. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, of course. We do indeed, yes. I had that the first one actually, but who else? Who else worships the sun? Be interesting, actually. The Shintos worship the sun in Japan. They worship the sun. Huh? The Greeks and the Romans, actually. The Romans actually surpassed. It's an interesting point that you mentioned. The Romans used to worship the sun. And when they converted to Christianity, like Christian Roman Catholic Church, they actually changed Jesus to the sun god. So thereby sometimes they adjusted things to fit their own time and place and their own culture and their own religion. So they substituted Jesus as the sun god. And in some instances you actually see that still in the Catholic Church, where Jesus is represented as the sun. So in that Zoroastrian, one of the early religions, they also worship the sun. Indigenous people, the indigenous people of Australia, they also worship the sun. In many, many different areas they worship the sun. So why do they worship the sun? Why does any religion think that they have to worship the sun? Can anybody tell me? There's a reason why they... Yes, Prabhu? Huh? Yeah, exactly. But in the simple communities, it was all about harvesting. They were growing their crops and everything, and they needed the sun to warm the crops and everything. And so the other thing was, so they depended on the sun. You depended on the rain as well. Apparently it hasn't rained here for 6 months, has it, or something? Some a long time. So, you depend on these things, and the sun was like that. And so also the sun gives light and heat. We're waiting for a bit of heat. So you look at the cosmos, and it's absolutely wonderful. It's just amazing how everything works. And the wonder about the sun and the stars, even when I was a child, you used to wonder, my gosh, you'd stand outside, especially here, and you see the sky with all the luminaries. It's just so overwhelmingly beautiful, so overwhelmingly amazing. Krishna's creation is so amazing. But that universe is a universal factor of Krishna and a unifying force. Because actually it is a show of Krishna's infinite love for us. It is a physical show of Krishna's love for us by providing sunlight in which we draw so much energy, so much of our food and everything. This is Krishna's gift to us. So in a sense, Srila Prabhupada sometimes makes the analogy that the divine cosmos is like a family, because all of the stars and the moons and the satellites and everything work in unison with one another. So in a good family, there is unison within a family, and that works wonderfully in harmony. And so it is with this universe. So in this verse also, Krishna is described also as time, kala. Krishna is time. And without time, nothing else happens. So time is an interesting thing. It is the most powerful force in this material world. Time is the most powerful force within this material world. Time controls everything, and Krishna controls time. Recently, we were just having some long discussions with a couple of my friends and also my wife about this point of time, that we think time is linear, that somehow or other we think that we're here now, and in a little while we'll be here, and then we'll be there. Whereas in actuality, there is no time. It's actually an illusion. We're actually thinking that there is a process of time, but in actuality, there's no time. Remember, Prabhupada used to tell us that you can be Krishna conscious within a second. So that means you are already residing in your spiritual body. already in your spiritual body. It's just a change of your consciousness. When your consciousness is completely saturated with Krishna and there is no other desire, then you take up your spiritual body, which is already there. You're already in your spiritual body. It's just our consciousness hasn't caught up to that yet. And similarly, it is that we've had many, many births, 8 million we have sojourned into, right? And you are still in that sojourn. So sometimes, I've pointed this out to some people recently, you know, sometimes you may be eating something and it's like a hard bit of pakora or something like that, and you go, right? What does it make you feel like? It makes you feel like a dog's body or something, like that, doesn't it? Because in actuality, if your consciousness was changed, you would go into a dog's body. So you have been in a dog's body, you've been in a bird's body. Sometimes we see the birds flying, and you think, gee, I wish I could lift my arms and just fly. You've done that. And in another consciousness, you are in that time zone of a body. But now we are all here in this body, in this human form of life. If we don't practice our Krishna consciousness completely and we still have material desires, at the end of this life, time will put us into our demigod body. And eventually, we'll end up in our devotional body if we're 10%. And Prabhupada 10% surrendered. And Prabhupada says that. So you can become Krishna conscious within a moment. So that's the whole process. So time is a wonderful thing, but it's not a linear thing. There's the quote, with the rising and setting of the sun, everyone's life is diminished by time. So as I said, time is really just playing with us. We're all getting a little grayer, a little stiffer, we've got backache, painache, and it's not fun getting older, but it's happening to us. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in 11:32, I am the time, the source of destruction that comes forth and annihilates the world. You know, time I am. So recently, I don't know if you're aware of it, but there was this film at the moment in the theatres called Oppenheimer, and he is said to have quoted this verse, time I am, when the atomic bomb went off. So he said, you know, the power of the Lord, time I am. So a lot of the devotees actually, in America especially, at the showing of this Oppenheimer film, because he quotes the Bhagavad Gita in this film, they went and distributed Bhagavad Gitas out the front of the theatres, which was a really wonderful thing. You know, so we take every opportunity to preach, don't we? If there's any hint whatsoever of someone interested in Krishna consciousness, that's it. We go for it. You know, we milk it for all it's worth. So the thing is that he said that because the atomic bomb generated so much power and was so destructive that he was overwhelmed by it, the power. And that was just at Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And he saw that. But in today's society, the bombs that they have at the moment are hundreds of times more powerful than the bombs that were dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So one of the things that I've been talking about in my preaching with Interfaith and with other temples is the need for the devotees to actually be very alert, because we're in a very difficult time at the moment. A very difficult time, a very dangerous time actually. And I was at New Gokul and we're here at New Govardhana, and sometimes you can be oblivious to actually what's going on out there. The world is in a horrific state at the moment, a very frightening state. And you know the only solace? The only solace is the holy name. You know, it is so on tenterhooks at the moment. Through my interfaith work, all the churches are praying that Armageddon is not going to happen. They are literally thinking this could be the end. So if it is, well and good, we'll all go back, we'll see the Virat Rupa form of Krishna and bye-bye. But in another sense, that's not what Lord Chaitanya said. Lord Chaitanya said that this movement will go on for the next 10,000 years. Srila Prabhupada said that too. And we're part of Lord Chaitanya's family. So the thing is, the holy name will actually change the situation if we're diligent and dedicated to the following the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. There was a time back in the 70s, Ram, you may remember this, with the Vietnam War. And there was the conflict between the communists and the capitalists, and it was getting really heated. And they asked Prabhupada, is this World War III coming up? And he said, World War III can be averted if the devotees sincerely chant. And they did, and it didn't happen. But at that time, there was every possibility that it could happen. And so, we have to be really aware of the situation. As communications officer, I have to be aware of what's happening in the news to be able to comment on it. I deal with interfaith groups, I deal with government, and so on. And so they all know that it's a pretty precarious situation that we're in. Recently, we had the opportunity of doing an interfaith mass at the Anglican Cathedral in Melbourne. And all the church leaders, all the Christian leaders from the Orthodox, Pentecostal, Salvation Army, it was a Christian function where they were all coming together to pray for peace in the world. And they asked us also from different faith traditions, from the Hindu tradition, from the Baha'i tradition, from the Brahma Kumaris. They also asked the Muslim people and the Jewish people to come. We had one Muslim lady come, but no Jewish or no Muslim representatives at all, because there was so much friction between them at that time. They couldn't come to the point of meeting together. So this bishop, who is a very good friend of mine, Bishop Huggins, asked me to come representing ISKCON, but also representing the Hindu community. And so this was a major event where people were sincerely praying, my dear Lord, don't let there be a war where there is so much pain and suffering, because it is not a pleasant thing. We can see from Ukraine, even the devotees have been harassed and hurt in this war in Ukraine and Russia. Both Ukrainian devotees have passed away, temples have been blown up, men and women that were out doing food for life, they have been hurt and killed. In Russia also, Russian soldiers who are devotees have been killed. And so we're not immune to it, but we want to change that scenario. And now what's happening in the Gaza and in Israel, we have many Israelis devotees that have had to sign up for conscription that live in Israel. If you're of a certain age, then you have to be in the army. And they're all armed up, ready to go to enter Gaza. And so this is the world that we're in. And then there are even some devotees in the Palestinian state of Gaza. And they're witnessing the bombs that are dropping. And they're saying, the Hamas is such a terrorist organization. They are. And they're horrible terrorists. But in the same token, to counteract that terrorism, there's a bigger terror. It's horrible that they're dropping bombs on innocent men, women, and children in Israel. Yes, the Hamas has killed 200 people, but one bomb dropped by an Israeli jet will kill 100 people and children and women and old people. So this is the world that we're living in. An eye for an eye never works. This is the philosophy of the materialists. And, you did that to me? I'm going to do this to you. It never works. The only solution, Prabhupada points out, the only solution to safety in the world, for peace in the world, is to understand that Krishna owns everything. It is Krishna's property, and that we should actually understand nothing belongs to us, and we're simply servants of Krishna. When we do that, then actually the world will change, and the world will change. It's now whether we want to be part of that change and stand up and be heroes and actually fight for the cause of peace, or we let it go by us. It's up to us. Lord Chaitanya's mission, Lord Chaitanya's family will save the planet, is going to save the planet. How that permeates out, whether they drop a bomb or not, that's aside from the point. We have to be solid in our sadhana, in our Krishna consciousness, to avert a really horrific situation. So we encourage everyone to chant the holy name of the Lord. Even when I do my work in interfaith, I encourage the Muslims to chant Allah. I ask the Christians, please chant the name of Jesus or Jehovah, and they do. Yeah, it says, I say in your scriptures, it says, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name." Call on Krishna's name, call on Jesus' name, call on Jehovah's name. And they do that. We shouldn't be so narrow-minded as to think. Prabhupada was very clear on this. When he came to London and they asked Prabhupada, "Why have you come? Have you come here to convert us all to Hinduism?" And Prabhupada said, "No, you have forgotten God. So worship again God in your own tradition, in the Hindu faith, in the Muslim faith, in the Christian faith. You're not following the teachings of your teachers, of your gurus." There was one interview I heard recently. It was really amazing. Prabhupada gave an interview to these Christian theologians, university professors in Christian theology. And they came to see Prabhupada and they asked Prabhupada, what is the esoteric meaning of Krishna consciousness? What is the real depth of Krishna consciousness? And Prabhupada said, no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, and no illicit sex. And I said, yes, Prabhupada, that's very nice, Prabhupada. But what is the real essence, the deep philosophical understanding of your Krishna consciousness movement? And Prabhupada repeated, no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. 3 times they did that and they became frustrated. And he said, are you following your guru? And he said, and they all said, what do you mean? Are you following no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex? Then you are killing your guru. That's how heavy you was. All the theologians just went, my God, And he got it right to the nub. You are killing your guru. And that was the end of it. They just walked out. So Prabhupada is so adamant that we don't need to know all that much, even in these verses about time and about the cosmology and how in the Vedas. It's wonderful knowledge. We simply have to know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality, the controller of everything. Our dearmost friend, my boss, Anuttama Prabhu, gave a lecture yesterday, and it was just on WhatsApp this morning. And again, it was quoting Srila Prabhupada, and it said that, what was it again? People will know that Krishna loves them by how you treat people. People will know how much Krishna loves them by how you treat people. So you're in a situation here where you get so many people coming through, and they're open-hearted. They want to come and experience Krishna consciousness. They don't know that yet. They're coming for a retreat and some yoga or something, but they're associating with Vaishnavas. Each and every one of us who have taken up this path of Krishna consciousness have so much potency, so much strength, and your strength is embellished by your friendship. How you treat the people that come here, how you interact with them in just a friendly manner, to sit with people that have come, to say, hi, where are you from? I'm from here, I'm from there. Just be friendly. I'm sure you are already. I'm preaching to myself. It is something that we have to be really aware of in our lives. How to be friendly to the broader community. Say, for example, when I'm dealing with other faith traditions, I have to be exceptionally friendly. Sure, they are not following correctly in many, many ways. So again, there's the analogy that's given that, like when you're cooking a sabji or something, right? And you've got vegetables and you cut off the rotten bits to put in the sabji, correct? So similarly, when we're dealing with other faith traditions, there are things there that are a little, like eating meat, for example. So you cut that out of the person's you have to remove that from dealing with them, so you can deal with them honestly as a friend. And just as that opportunity we had to pray together for peace at the cathedral in Melbourne. Anybody been to St. Paul's Cathedral in Melbourne? It's beautiful, isn't it, Prabhu? It's a huge cathedral. So anyway, all the priests, the archbishops, the cardinals, everyone was sitting up on the stage there, right? And they'd all said their piece about peace and everything. And then we had to come up, the other religions, my Buddhist friend and so many others, and we had to offer a candle, and we put the candle in and everything. And then we lined up on the altar with the priests and the cardinals and all that kind of stuff, right? So there's Bhaktadas in the middle of this cathedral, and then the final prayer was going to be read out by this bishop, Christian bishop. Anyway, he comes over to me and he says, "Bhakta, would you mind reading the last prayer out, please?" I thought, wow, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. To represent Prabhupada in front of all these people, all these religious leaders, And I didn't even realize it at the time, but later this Brahma Kumari girl came up to me and said, "Isn't it amazing that out of all these religious people, they picked you to read the final and parting prayer?" I thought, wow, this is Prabhupada's mercy. Really amazing. So we are powerful. And our prayer is powerful. Each and every devotee is powerful. And our prayer is powerful. Our prayer can change the world. I had one lady in New Gokul recently when I was preaching on this, because I'm going to be preaching this the whole way through our tour, because it is so vitally important. She was preaching, "Yes, I've always wanted to do something to protest against the power of that's happening, the oppression of the world and everything." And I said, "But it won't do you any good whatsoever to carry banners or placards and go out and march. We want peace. We want peace." I said, "You have all the potency right here in your own house, in your own temple. If you, in the morning, when you're chanting your rounds, you don't necessarily pray to Krishna for peace, but you think of the turmoil that's in the world, your prayer will affect that event that's happening in Gaza, that's happening in Ukraine. Did you know that there are 38 war zones in the world today? 38 war zones, people killing each other. When you chant Hare Krishna, whether it's here at the temple, whether it's in a bhajan or kirtan, whether it's in your home altar at home, when you're walking through the gardens, if you're chanting Hare Krishna and you actually have a thought about the suffering that's happening in these places where there's war, you're helping that vibration, that holy name vibration, actually permeates the globe. And all of us together are helping to alleviate the suffering of the world. Just by doing that, just by chanting diligently, with focus, with sincerity, that's what we need. And so when we do that, we connect with Krishna, because Krishna is everywhere. And we're glorifying his wonders, Even Prabhupada said the bombs that were dropping on him in Calcutta during World War II, he saw that as Virat Rupa form of Krishna. He saw it as the Virat Rupa form of Krishna. So we take everything that Krishna has to offer and we accept it. So when we connect with Krishna and glorify his wonders, 7 different things happen to us, which is an amazing. Number one, we connect with Krishna, because Krishna is right there. He's dancing on our tongue when we're chanting his holy name. His holy name and him are non-different. Krishna is Krishna. And when we pronounce his holy name correctly, he's there. Krishna is with us. And we can glorify his wonders. The other thing is, when we chant Hare Krishna, it reduces our anxiety. Our anxiety is, will there be world peace? Will my family be okay? That's anxiety. But when we chant Hare Krishna, we just say, whatever, Krishna, whatever happens, you're in control. I'm simply your servant. I'll carry on whatever you want me to do. And that mitigates the anxiety. It mitigates our stress. So that's what happens. Number 3, it increases our gratitude. When we chant diligently, clearly, gratitude wells up in us. God has brought this back for all of us to actually get that inspiration, and miracles will happen. In the early days, anybody read Chasing Rhinos from Shamasunda? Isn't it a far-out book?
I feel like I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, he was explaining how the early days in London and everything, right?
There was this one scene where money literally fell from the sky.
Yeah, that's the one I wanted to mention. They didn't have the money to pay the rent. They got this new place in Berry Place. Prabhupada said, yeah, no, we want it, but we haven't got any money. And they had to pay the rent. They thought, what are we going to do? We've got no money. And then him and Malati were walking down the road, and all of a sudden this money comes floating down from, nobody was around. And so they just started picking all the money, and it was just the right amount to pay the rent. So Prabhupada, by Prabhupada's mercy and by Krishna's mercy, miracles happen. There was another miracle, which I recently heard also, about the Bhagavad Gita, the first major printing of the Bhagavad Gita in 1976. They went to Macmillan and said, we want 1 million books printed. It had never, ever, first run printing had never, ever in the world ever been 1 million books printed at one time. Did you know that? They never ever printed 1 million books, and Bhagavad Gita was the first one, because the devotees knew, we'll distribute them. Don't you worry about that. We'll distribute them. Actually, one of my colleagues actually just mentioned, in America, the movement is progressing so wonderfully. They anticipate that, and the full set books of Bhagavatams are going out like anything. So they are wanting in 2025 to distribute 150,000 Bhagavatam sets in 1 year. This is amazing, So miracles happen. Oh, another one which I wanted to mention, a miracle, again in the early days, and the power of Srila Prabhupada's Shakti. Hridayananda Maharaj, my spiritual mentor, my guru, he was 26 years old, just came to Krishna consciousness. Who's 26 around here? Anybody young? Prabhu Das is 26. 26 years old, right? He's fresh. He's had 2 or 3 years experience in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada made him a sannyasi, and he said, I want you to go to South America and start preaching there. Now, no one had gone to South America. No one. And so he said, yes, Prabhupada, I'll follow you. And he went there, and then within a small span of time, within 2 years, actually, when he first got there, he had so much faith in Prabhupada, the first thing he bought when he got off the aeroplane, he bought a map of the whole of South America. And then what he did, he got pins and he said, I'll build a temple here, 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 and here. And within 2 years, that had been achieved. That's a miracle. Those miracles can happen again and are happening again if we are diligently chanting our rounds and stuff. So there are many, all of us, and some of the older guys that are here and devotees that are here can also share incredible miracles that have happened in our own personal lives because we've been chanting the holy names. So I just want to reiterate, I know my time is up, I want to reiterate the importance of chanting at this time of crisis. I know it doesn't feel like a crisis here in New Govardhana. It's very blissful. You hear the chanting, the delicious prasadam, wonderful devotees, everybody smiling. But in parts of the world, it is devastatingly tragic. And we as devotees have to be compassionate. And we have to think of that. The mercy in Radharani's eyes, the enthusiasm of Krishna's eyes, it's just overwhelming. And you feel so grateful that you're getting that blessing. You're so grateful that you have the association of real friends. Vaishnava friends are the greatest friends you could ever have. They don't want anything from you, they just want your love and affection and togetherness. Because we all understand that we're all sons and daughters of the Supreme Lord, and we're all sons and grandsons and great-grandsons of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. So our gratitude increases. The next one is it shifts focus to others. When we have chanting diligently, it's not all about me. It's fine, we all want to go back home, back to Godhead. But it's not the most important thing. When we chant, we're actually asking Krishna to help our God brothers and sisters and to help the world. So it shifts our focus to others. And it encourages us to preach. You know, when you've had a really good session of chanting, or you've been in part of a really good kirtan, like I used to when we used to have His Holiness Kadambakananda Maharaj around, you know, and you'd be filled with his kirtan and you'd just want to go out and conquer the world somehow or another and preach, you know. So when we chant properly, we become enthused to push on this movement more and more. So the next point is we actually hear from Krishna. When we chant diligently, Krishna actually appears to us in many different ways, through intuition, through super soul. Oh, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. Krishna actually comes to us through the scriptures. We may be reading the Bhagavatam, and something that you may have read hundreds of times before all of a sudden becomes relevant to you. So Krishna is doing that. And then, like say, for example, when you come after 5 years and you haven't seen these beautiful deities, it fills your heart with gratitude that, oh my God, I'm seeing Krishna. So beautiful, and how beautifully they're dressed, how beautiful their garlands are, these beautiful flowers. It's just overwhelmingly powerful. So that's the other thing. Krishna will come to you, will hear you. The other one, it puts off temptation. When you chant diligently, it puts off temptation. We're in this material world, and we're always stricken with many different desires. Oh, I want this, I want that. And we're having to struggle. But when you chant really diligent rounds, it puts off that temptation. Oh, I may want that now, but maybe later. And you keep on chanting. So temptation is out of the park as well. No more temptation. And finally, when we're chanting diligently, it brings forth miracles. Absolute miracles. And this happens in all faith traditions. Miracles happen. And in Krishna consciousness, we're no less so. Miracles can happen. We can change the situation of the world, like Prabhupada said. You can have the world in 8 days. Wasn't it, Ram? That's what he said. In 8 days, the world can be Krishna conscious. Is that right? 18 days. Okay, 10 days short. But whatever. Yeah. So, you know, but it could happen. And so we have to, it can bring about miracles. There's one really amazing miracle. Sometimes people think Krishna consciousness is the only way. There was this saint, Saint Teresa of what is it? Huh? Avila, is it? No, she wasn't a saint. Saint Teresa of Avila, isn't it? Avila, in France. She actually had a vision of Krishna. It's on Facebook. There was an account of her diaries of how she went to this realm and there was this beautiful blue boy with girls all around. Anyway, she literally did. Have you read that one, Madhaji? Oh, it's amazing when you read that. So anyway, she was so dedicated. When she was praying to God, she became so fixed that her body levitated up and everybody could see that she was just like that, completely absorbed. And then these flower petals from the heavens would fall. Don't only be kind to people that you meet personally, but also be kind to and give thought to and compassion to those people that are suffering elsewhere. So I'll stop here, Prabhu. So again, it's been wonderful to be here at New Govardhana. Thank you very much. If anybody has any comments or questions or corrections, please let me know. Yeah, Prabhu does. Oh, my friend Prabhu. Hari Bol, Prabhu. How are you? It's so nice to see you.
I'm just wondering what the content of that prayer was that you spoke in that cathedral.
I have a copy of it. It was really wonderful.
A prayer from...
it was a Christian prayer.
Okay.
I think it was St. Francis of Assisi. I'm not sure. But it was like a 4-stanza prayer that was ready for Bishop Huggins to read out. And instead he turned to me and he said, Bhakta, would you mind reading this out? Wow, what the hell's going on? I'll email it to you.
You really got the mercy. Isn't it?
I did. I felt it too. And all I could do was have gratitude to Prabhupada, that I can carry a little bit of his mercy like that. Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you, Prabhu.
I was thinking of St. Francis also. There's a prayer that he has apparently, where you would have heard it. He says, every day I preach the gospel.
Yeah.
And he said, and sometimes I even use words.
Isn't that true? That's absolutely true. And he was a friend to everyone. You know, even the wild beasts in the forest and everything would come out and greet him, just like Lord Chaitanya in a sense. Amazing personality. Ladies, any questions at all? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki, Yantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Utha Go Premanandi. Jai Prabhu.